Please welcome to the stage Derek Kelly, Vice President, Market Development, Lumos, to moderate the Lighted Up Innovation Expanding Fiber's Reach panel discussion.
Well, good morning. Anytime we get to have a panel without a single internet provider or equipment manufacturer or some other industry expert is always exciting. And so when they asked me if I'd be willing to moderate this panel, I just jumped at the opportunity because there's no one from the industry on there. And so let me just run down the line, let everyone introduce themselves, and we'll jump into it.
I'm Sreekala Bajwa. I serve as the Vice President for Agriculture, Dean of Agriculture, and Director of Montana Agricultural Experiment Station at Montana State University in Bozeman.
Andrew Donaldson. I work for the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute. My job title is Lead Research Engineer, but truly I'm a program manager. I'm responsible for the connected vehicle programs within the city of Ann Arbor.
I'm Amber Humphrey. I'm the Senior Director of Telehealth at Vanderbilt University Medical Center.
Hi, I am Chris Schilling. I am the Undersecretary of Technology and Innovation at the Unconquered and Unconquerable Chickasaw Nation.
Great, thanks everyone. Well, to set the stage a little bit, when we were dreaming and talking about this panel, we really wanted to think about a world in which everyone has fiber. So when Gary was kicking us off this morning talking about all the investments that we're all making in this, and hopefully BEAD is going to come out at some point in time, and either way we're going to get fiber out to almost everyone. And so the one question we've all probably been asked at some point in time by someone is like, why does fiber matter? And so that's what we really get to dive into. I think we've all talked about what it means for telehealth or agriculture or transportation or health. We get to actually dive into that today and really talk about what does that actually mean. And so, Amber, you're our local person, so you got home field advantage. So let's just talk about, let's assume everyone has better connectivity, everyone has fiber. What does that really mean for your industry? And then we'll just share around the room.
Yeah, well, thank you, and everybody, welcome to Nashville. I think in current state, it's great, and we're thankful to have a telehealth program that allows the reach that it currently does. We're currently able to say that we provide telehealth visits to every county in Tennessee. But that doesn't mean that people are actually receiving those services in their homes. Sometimes they have to drive all the way to the end of their gravel road to get the connectivity that allows them to connect to a visit. So for me and at Vanderbilt and just in the telehealth community at large, telehealth is healthcare, and there are so many underserved healthcare areas in the United States, and those are also the areas that simply don't have broadband. And so to be able to take those hundreds of counties across America and say, we've got broadband, we have better access to care, that also, that connectivity equals better access to care. Not just video visits, which, telehealth has become a household word. It's during the pandemic, it was something that everybody understood, but to take that a step further and think about remote patient monitoring for chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension, those are the things that if you can really provide to people in rural areas, they can catch much more serious diseases and manage those diseases before they become life-threatening.
Anyone else want to chime in on what it means for your industry?
I'll just say we appreciate the work. Practically, some of us represent rural areas that actually live that on a day-to-day basis. I'm a recovering healthcare administrator, and one of the things we knew about the state of Oklahoma was that if you had cancer in a metro area versus cancer in a rural area, you were 50% more likely to die from your disease if you lived out in a rural area. And so what does that mean? That means, you look at everything from access to care, having the gas in the tank, food in the belly to drive to a major city like Oklahoma City. So what the unlocking potential of fiber is exciting because the further we can permeate into rural communities, we can serve millions of folks, and they can get the best care at the most local site possible. We saw the video earlier of the Saskatchewan, someone hopping on a plane to go get an ultrasound. That simply is not necessary this day and age. People get excited about big hospitals, big capital infrastructure, but technology is there, the software, the hardware is there, and all we got to do is connect the dots to bring that level of diagnostic care and triage care to people where they reside, and we're going to unlock a lot of economic potential.
May I?
Absolutely.
In agriculture, my background is precision agriculture, but speaking generally in agriculture, having internet, it could be transformational. There are lots of tools that are developed that depend on connectivity to utilize. So having access to those modern technologies that not only increases the efficiency of your operation, allows you to manage the resources in a better fashion, and respond to any kind of challenges, issues. A leak in your irrigation pipe, or your livestock, a cow is dying, or there is predation. Those kind of things can be addressed immediately if you have access. I worked on a task force with a couple of farmers, ranchers, a national task force, and a rancher who was in the task force from rural Minnesota, he said he has to drive his tractor to this certain spot where there is connectivity to check in with his family and to tell them that I'm doing all right, there is no accident, or So those are the challenges. I think it is better quality of life and a better operations and the ability to feed the world if you have internet.
Sure. I work in transportation, right? So traffic signals. I'm very fortunate to live in a modern city where every traffic cabinet at the side of the road is connected via fiber back to the data center. And that allows a visibility of the intersections, how they're working. We have cameras. We know what's going on in the cities. As you get further out, you get the broken traffic signals. You may not even know about them. You start to have accidents and potential safety issues because you don't know what the status of that is. So the more of these intersections that you can connect, you can reset, you can do maintenance, you can adjust, you can make basically the world a safer and more mobile place for people to be. So it really is very useful.
So Andrew, any other ways or things that you can think of just how people are using or how communities are using broadband and really what it means to either be able to use the technology or reversely, like what's going to happen if there's communities or sectors that can't use that technology?
Sure. I give an example of what we're doing. So about 25 years ago, I moved to the United States, and it was the first time in my experience where, as a pedestrian, I had a little guy that tells me I'm safe to cross the road, and I've got vehicles moving in front of me and behind me, right? That is a mixed media potential for problems. And just after I moved here, it was a very dark, rainy morning. There was a pedestrian crossing, and he was hit by a bus. Unfortunately, he did not survive. So the technology that we are doing right now allows, we use the traffic cameras that are almost at every intersection. And we take that data back to a traffic center over fiber, and in almost real time, we analyze it for vulnerable road users, so pedestrians, cyclists, scooters, motorcyclists. We take that object data and transfer it into a standard message, and we send that back out to the edge over fiber, and we send that out over radio. It's called CV2X. And we have applications that run inside vehicles that will tell the driver that there is someone in the intersection. So we use our fiber network to significantly increase the safety of our vulnerable road users within the city. So that is an example of how we use fiber to make our life safer within our city. There are many other applications, right, for safety and mobility. So we use the same technology to adjust the timing of the traffic signals for transportation, for transit buses, for example. We tend to increase the green time or reduce the red time so that we keep the buses moving on time. So using our fiber network and our local radio links out to the vehicles, we improve the safety and mobility of our users within the cities.
Anyone else want to chime in?
I can jump in. In agriculture, autonomy is a big thing. No matter anywhere in the world you go, this is the same in the US also. You ask agriculture communities what is their number 1 challenge. It is workforce, skilled workforce, people who can operate these machines that are very intelligent. On other hand, our producers are aging. The average age of American farmer is increasing. And I have many people telling me that if my tractor can self-drive, my combine can operate by itself, I can stay in this business for another 5 years or more. So autonomy is a big technology. Your self-driving tractor, your sprayers, your combine, your planters that can go and do the job without a driver. Not only do the job more efficiently. For example, spraying for weeds or pests or diseases. A human sitting there and making the decision, there is a lot more chance of making errors and having overlap, spraying a place twice. Tractor with its sensing technology and with the ability for autonomy can go and do it more accurately, saving valuable resources. Irrigation systems, today a farmer can operate, turn on or off, and monitor a irrigation system remotely from his cell phone, his or her cell phone. So Internet of Things, IoT sensor network are again big in agriculture. The ability to monitor whether it's your crop or your land or livestock and making timely decisions. It's a big thing. So there are lots of technologies out there that incorporate, that require fiber connectivity to operate and utilize. Those are some of the examples.
Do you want to share about the cows giving birth?
Yeah, I was saving it for the last. But if you are a livestock farmer, crop farmer during summertime, it is in the northern parts of the country, in North Dakota, Montana, it's known that they may work as long as there is sunlight, meaning 20 hours or more a day. That is during summertime. Livestock farmers, it is a different story. They don't have a vacation. Every single day they are working, especially early in the winter. In Montana, it is February, March timeframe. It is calving season. The cows are giving birth, and they have to be constantly monitored to know when you need to bring a cow who is about to give birth into the pen and help. Sometimes there could be difficult birth. In February, if a calf is dropped in a cold ground on snow, it could easily die. So it's a 24-hour monitoring. Now, with the connectivity and the sensing technologies, it is possible to monitor the cow. You can maybe set an alarm in your cell phone or something. So you are not staying awake or getting up every couple of hours and going and checking on your cow. You can do it from your iPad or your device at home. So it is better quality of life and perhaps I don't know. It is still not going to be 8 to 5 job. It is still long work hours, but it may be a little bit better than without the technology.
I have a brother that's a cattle farmer, and his wife is a vet that also cares for the cows, and so I can appreciate that story and the sleepless nights she has during birthing season. Amber or Chris?
Yeah. Challenges.
Either challenges or just more ways that we're using technology or that we could be using the technology.
Yeah. I think it goes back to with telehealth, just the overall access problems and really meeting patients where they are, especially with clinician shortages that are simply going to continue, primary care, behavioral health, and really understanding that if we can make these tools available and make access available, you'll make healthcare available, you'll make families healthier, and decrease costs of healthcare. And so that's really important. It's certainly, there's fiber's not the magic bullet that's going to take care of everything. We have challenges like interstate licensure. We would love to see that become easier. Reimbursement is actually fairly, commercial payers are actually fairly supportive of telehealth now. So I think that's a really good thing. But just really having equal access to care no matter where you live, just like Chris said, whether you live or die, if you have a stroke, for instance, really depends on what part of the country that you live in.
So I got a fever, and the only prescription is more fiber. Now, a little bit about the Chickasaw Nation. We are 14,000 employees. We own and operate the world's largest casino in the middle of nowhere, just north of Dallas. 26 other properties. We operate healthcare systems. We have 80,000 citizens. A lot of them live within our 13.5 county tribal jurisdiction between Oklahoma City and Dallas-Fort Worth. And the challenge there is not just it's healthcare optimization, it's workforce optimization, not just for tribal citizens, but there's a lot of non-tribal citizens that live in the area. And connecting the dots, we've got a very visionary leader, Governor Bill Anatubby, who saw problems and he met those problems. Back in the day, it was infrastructure to build roads. You got to connect people. Then it was got to have drinking water to be able to take care of people. He's listened to needs of the people who live in this area. And what we're seeing right now is there's a lot of people who just don't have access and have never had access to broadband in their life. And so when you bring this out there, there's a challenge of bringing it to rural areas because the cost, we all know that, we've learned a lot about take rate, ARPU, getting fiber out to where it needs to go. But once they have it, what do they do with it? And that's a question we haven't fully answered yet. How do we pay for it long term? The variable cost of maintaining a fiber network. How do we best serve our citizens, non-citizens, other people who live in the area? And then and dovetails into the education question, which I think we can talk about in the future. But a lot of challenges, but fiber is a very strong opportunity for us, and not just our tribe, but the other folks who live in our jurisdiction.
So Dr. Bajwa, beyond just getting the challenge of getting fiber out there to everyone, what other challenges do you see just in your field of being able to fully utilize the technology?
Yeah, so I'm coming from Rocky Mountain West. So one of the challenges in getting fiber to rural farming communities is the coast. And, again, this task force I served on, I hear from people, majority of when you talk about agriculture, majority of the people are thinking about the Midwest and flat land. But in Montana, there are fewer people to pay for those services or break even if you are setting up a tower or bearing that cost. So cost of bringing broadband itself is prohibitive, but also cost of technologies. I talked about autonomy and IoT and all kinds of intelligent tools in agriculture. But you have to pay, again in Montana, it's not a very highly productive, the profit margin is not as high as Midwest. So whether they are able to pay for those technologies, that is a challenge. Another challenge is education. If you have internet, you know that the information is on your fingertip. In rural areas where there are no internet, accessing the information that you need. For example, I need to monitor for a certain pest or disease in crop field, or monitor my cows, how much they are eating and their metabolic rate, they are walking around. All those things, that information cannot come back to the producer so that they can look for information to how to address that. So the educational, also, again, in some of my meetings, whether there are farmers or ranchers involved, sometimes they are calling from their tractor, joining in that virtual meeting from their tractor. Those kind of things that we take for granted, those are going to be very challenging for producers, ag producers, when there is no internet available. During COVID time, we experienced this firsthand. We all went remote, and we couldn't stop education, right? We cannot say that we are suspending classes forever. So we were offering courses remotely through virtual platforms. And a lot of our students who were in those rural agriculture communities couldn't access the information. And we had to mail this disc or hard copy educational materials to those students. So those are some of the big challenges I see.
I don't know,
Another one is accessing market. Farmers make a selling and buying decision on commodity trade. How is it better to come into an agreement this year for my fertilizer for next year, or when is the best time to sell my produce? You need internet, you need connectivity to understand, look at the market and make those decisions.
I was just going to say, I think I was kind of curious about the academic sense and perhaps in the medical field, but collaboration is a challenge. The nation has a wholly owned broadband subsidiary. We also have to work well with other broadband companies in our jurisdiction. We've also got to work well with the state of Oklahoma. We've also got to work well with the Department of Transportation in the state of Oklahoma. We've also got to work well with the federal government and comply with all the standards. And so I think there's been good faith collaboration between those various stakeholders, but in order to get something like BEAD funding to happen, which we all kind of joke about the slog of the pace of that, everybody's got to come to the table with the end goal of hoping that at the end of this, there's going to be broadband, fiber preferably, to as many homes, as many businesses as possible. And as long as people come forward, that will be okay, but it's not without its challenges.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
We talk about getting connectivity to homes and businesses. In agriculture, and we talk about the last mile connectivity or mid-mile connectivity. In agriculture, we are talking about last acre connectivity.
Yeah.
Every piece of land needed to be connected for people to utilize some of the technologies that are out there today and what we are anticipating for tomorrow.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest challenge is one of reliability. Right? So we build a network that we need to trust. Right? People are working from home. Your cows are giving birth. If that is not reliable, you stop, right? Now you have to find a way to get to your cows. For us, our fiber runs under the streets of Ann Arbor, right? And it is the university alone is building a new building almost every day. Right? And so what tends to happen is that we will lose an entire corridor. And so there's two issues with that. One, obviously we lose the data and the connectivity and all the benefits. But the increased cost of having to have processing at the edge instead of just at the center is quite significant. And one of the things that we're studying is that we have some of our devices at the edge and some we're using a central processor. But I think it's really important to understand that if we build it, we must maintain it. And that's sometimes a challenge. A lot of grants are provided to install things and to build things, but there's no money comes back every year to maintain them. And so if a city gets a smaller city gets a big grant and they build something, they're left in the years to come to try and find the money to maintain this, and very often they just die. And so that for me is, I think, one of our biggest challenges, is not just putting it in, but is maintaining it and keeping it working.
So Chris, what gets you most excited just about the thought of having fiber to everywhere in the tribe? Like, how can that improve the quality of life? How can it improve the tribe or your respective industry?
First off, I'm most excited about the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals. So if there's any Indiana Pacers fans out there, we should have a friendly bet later. Yeah, go Thunder. It's just the most exciting time to be in this space. I would say the ascent of modern technology kind of correlates with the ascent of tribal sovereignty. The Nixon administration recognizing tribal sovereignty, and then self-determination that happened after that. And so tribes started with mainframe computers, then they moved to network computing, then cloud computing, and all about protecting data and making sure that it's held in the right hands because of historical purposes. And now we're in this quantum age. And the technology is there to do all the things. And tribes our goal is to enhance the overall quality of life of the Chickasaw citizens. We own farms. We help build roads. We provide care to our citizens and non-citizens alike. But it's just bringing the infrastructure out there to connect the dots and unlock the economic potential of rural America. That's something that is incredibly exciting. We're on the cusp of it, and we've got to keep going collectively as a group, everybody in this room.
I agree. I think it's a really exciting time. I think that the technology is there. There are so many devices that are out there that allow you to, download your glucose, Bluetooth scales to let your doctor know exactly how much you weighed this morning, and what your blood pressure is, and so many other devices that are out there.
Blood pressure.
Yes. I can make a recommendation. And that flow, and there are dozens, maybe hundreds of great remote patient monitoring companies that offer these kits that patients can take home to either keep them from going into the hospital or allow them to go home from the hospital earlier. And but it's difficult for patients who don't have reliable access to broadband or fiber to be able to utilize those types of systems, so they don't get the care that they need. But the technology is there. It's just being able to access it and being able to utilize it is the differentiator.
I may agree. Of course, it's exciting. I think the uses of the system is exploding, as is the required bandwidth. Right? You guys have the statistics, but just my own personal use, right, seems to double every year. Right? As the video bandwidth gets higher, that we all want bigger TV screens at home.
Right.
There's more and more uses. Everything is now virtual. Every meeting has a virtual meeting option. This has probably got a virtual stream, right? This didn't exist 10 years ago, or it existed, but it was not ubiquitous, right? So it's exciting. We need to keep up. That's my thought.
So I am really excited about the possibilities if there were to be internet everywhere. And the number one reason I am excited about is that the potential for innovations coming from the rural agriculture communities. Our ag folks are very innovative. They find the cheapest way to solve a problem on their own. In fact, tractors and those kind of things first came from some farming families. So right now they are limited because of their access to information, access to technologies. I think it potentially will explode the innovations that are coming out of people who are boots on the ground, doing the work every day in and day out. What is the type of technologies that can, and processes that can solve their problems easily. So that is one of the things I am excited about. The other is, I already mentioned, the quality of life. I say at least part of the year, the egg producers, the crop growers, and livestock producers, they don't have the quality of life everyone else may have, ability to go to bed and get 6 hours or more of sleep. So quality of life and opportunities for their youngsters. We talk about the healthcare in Montana. Access to healthcare is a major issue, especially in farming families. It has the highest mortality rate for newborn children because there is people may have to drive several hours before they can get to a medical facility where a mother can get the help they need. The suicide rate among older men in agricultural communities is the highest in Montana. So, when I say I am excited, they will be able to get the care and the information they need in their life and in their agricultural practices, the agricultural production practices. They are spending their day. Another thing is, there was a survey, I can't remember where it came from, a national survey that said the highest job satisfaction is among agriculture people. They love they do, the connection to the land and the idea of feeding the world. They love what they do, but they could have a better life. So those are some of the things I am excited about.
Well, if you've ever spoken to my CEO, Brian, for more than about 3 minutes, you'll probably hear him say that fiber is changing people's lives. And contrary to my teenage daughter thinking it's all about TikTok and Netflix, I mean, it's really changing, how we care for people, how we feed America, how we move people. And it's exciting to think about where we're going to be in the next 5 and 10 years and beyond. And so I want to thank my panel for the discussion, and I'm sure you can find them floating around the rest of the day. If you have any questions, feel free to come up to any of us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.